men have put their lives in for you. They are your heroes. And that's where I'd like us to make 3 minutes maximum each a contribution on this whole thing. And I would say one person who ignited or ushered us in will be this question, the relationship between the man or whoever is in the White House and the Justice Department, which is what the government is hoping that somehow this issue, government will intervene and Ambazonia will see some justice. Please, I begin with you, Barrister Ghana. You have some details and you may have some analysis to make in this regard.
Yes, this case is one that really perplexes me, and I know Barrister Fuso and Barrister Mbesa, all of us have paid some attention to this case. Because two of the those who were arrested, uh, Francis Cheney and Claude, were all resident, at least at one time. Francis Cheney was also resident here in Kansas City. Mr. Claude Chi is a resident, upstanding citizen here in Kansas City. I know Nestor Lamy is a resident in New York. All of them are heroes of the revolution. All of them contributed immensely to the revolution. And they were arrested, like you rightly said, November 28th, a couple of years ago. And the following day, I went to Mr. Clochi's home and visited with the wife and the family. I attended a lot of the court deliberations that concern their arraignment. Uh, for all we thought, for all we expected that by now that case would have been tried, it would have been resolved, uh, and it would have been resolved in their favor. As that video you played rightly said, these people are freedom fighters because even when during the initial arraignment, when the judge was reading the charges against them, the judge herself, because it was a lady judge, the judge herself was perplexed by the fact that they were arrested in the first place. Because she said, and I was there in the courtroom, she was asking questions about what is the difference between Ukrainians who are contributing money to buy landmines, to buy missiles, to defend themselves against Russia. What is the difference between them and these three who are being arraigned here, who are basically contributing, brainstorming to 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 fund a defense against their people who have been slaughtered. So and the judge was asking the FBI officers who were there in court, and they were scratching their heads. They did not have any answers. And the judge was asking the FBI officers about Cameroon, and if they knew the history, and if they knew that this used to be a federation, and if they knew that the Ambazonian people, or Anglophones as they call them, are being butchered, are being slaughtered by the military, and the FBI officers were scratching their heads, and they did not know anything. And for all we know, and for all we expected, that this case was going to be resolved. And it's also interesting that one of the state defense attorneys who is defending Francis Cheney is a classmate of mine from law school. We graduated same day, worked on the same stage. He was assigned to defend Francis Cheney. I've met with him a few times. We used to meet. I've supplied him information regarding their defense, files upon files. Uh, but at some point, when we could not get a court date, he stopped wanting to meet, and I've not been able to meet with him again. And neither have I been able to secure any meeting with the lawyer defending Mr. Nestor Langmi, or the one assigned to defend Claude Chi. And so this seems to be more of a political case than a case where they can successfully prosecute whatever charges are being levied against these three. But we should not forget about them. We should continue to make efforts in trying to secure their release. I must also say that President Sako has been here in Kansas City. We all went to the courthouse and visited the courthouse, though there wasn't that much that we could do that day because the cause court was not in session. They also tried to go to the detention facility where they are being detained, which is in Leavenworth, uh, uh, Kansas here, but they don't. It's a very high or maximum security building. They don't even allow people to come in. You have to apply and issue justifications. I think the only people who have been allowed to visit them is the family. I know Mr. Clochi's wife and Mr. Clochi's mother have the access to go visit them, but nobody else is being allowed. I know Mr. Nestor Langmi's wife, who from time to time I'm in communication with her, also has access, and Mr. Francis Cheney's wife also has access. So it's a perplexing case because if you really put it against the prism of the law and against the prism of precedent in the law, there is really no reason why those three should continue to be held. So, but again, we as comrades in arms will continue to do the best that we can to try to support them and try to secure their release as soon as possible. So,
Yeah, but Safro, I don't want you to waste your time talking a lot. You have spoken so much on this, but just tell us, what is your expectation if we have an intentional involvement of the government on this issue, and if we have this narrative that our government is fostering, if we have it gain some standards in high offices, what would be our expectation?
Now,
That the
listen,
case,
before I say that, I want to make a comment on the Justice
yeah.
Department of Biden. The Justice Department of Biden is probably one of the worst Justice Department in recent history that I know. They have not, they know how to put people in jail, but they don't know how to prosecute people. They, you arrest people, detain them for more than 2 years in violation of the due process of the United States Constitution is in the 14th Amendment. They have been in detention for more than 2 years and no trial. And when the government of the Southern Cameroon and Bazonia created the global push, they wrote to the Attorney General of this country, who is a Biden nominee, appointee, who has pretend who says he is independent of Biden, and yet he has not been able to prosecute Trump for all the indictments that we know. He has only been able to detain our people for the last 2 years without trial, and is checking out in the next 2 months, and our people are in jail. Why are they? The question that I ask is, what would the next prosecutor, the next attorney general do for our people in Kansas City? Because like Professor Hines says, this is miscarriage of justice. What is the difference between Israelis, Ukrainians, and Ambazonians? Is it because we
That's
are
the
black people?
question. What is the
Is it
difference?
because we are black people? And I will argue
Yeah,
that the Justice Department of Biden is essentially racist, because they have detained our people without trial, with nothing. And when we ask them, they say they didn't know it's a political matter, it's a civil matter. How can you write a letter that it is a civil matter, and yet our people are still in jail? What kind of justice do you
yeah,
expect in the United States?
that's a critical question. I just would like you now to tell us what could be our expectation if things change in Washington.
Our
What is the
expectation,
positive?
our expectation is that we will make a presentation to the new Attorney General who is coming in, to know that there was a miscarriage of justice, and will produce all the correspondence between us and the Justice Department of Biden and let
That's
our
amazing.
people go.
Yeah, but
That is our
Dr. Prince.
expectation. That is our expectation. The difference, I'm not that confident because you don't know who the Attorney General of Trump will be. You don't know his attitude towards black people, racist or non-racist. You will not know until you see his Attorney General. Because this is
Yeah,
happening in
I
the
wanna,
United States. Those are
I,
United States citizens.
I'm not trying to cut you short, Barrister Fru. Is that we have a limited time and we have something to cover, and we have just a few minutes to do that. I know that we have extrapolated so much of our time. I'm coming back to you, Barrister Ghana. Your Barrister Ghana is almost sleeping on set. Please, you bear with me for keeping you longer than we thought, but it is quite important that we get to conclude this conversation now. I don't know if you want to react to this Kansas City 3 and the
You
way
mean
the Justice Department has behaved, Dr. Lobati, very briefly.
you were going to ask me, and then you called Dr. Gana, so I don't know. But anyway, let me
No,
just
no,
give you
it's
my own.
you, it's you, it's you. I'd like you to react very briefly,
So we
Dr.
know
Lobati.
Chick Road very well. We lived in the Kansas City area for 10 years before we moved to where we are now. And we visited him each time we go to the Kansas City to restock on our basic needs. He's a very nice guy, a wonderful person. And I know Leavenworth very well. Lansing, where actually the prison is there. I used to work in Leavenworth as a physician in the emergency room for a while. And with my wife, the Speaker of the House, we've been able to visit. We went to mourn with some of our friends in the military whose wife died. He used to guard the tomb of the unknown in Washington, D.C. Anyway, we visited him and went to the National Cemetery, very beautiful National Cemetery there for the military. And after that, we went to that prison area. Is very heavily guarded, and we basically prayed for them. We traveled, we walked, we drove around it and prayed for them as we returned home. I pray that by the grace of God, they will be liberated. Now, not only them, but all our people who are in jail, even in La République du Cameroon or anywhere in the world, known or unknown. The situation here is that the United States has, in the Second Amendment, that the people are free to own and bear arms because their government one day can become a dictatorship. That means when the people discover that the government is no longer serving the needs of the people and is rotating into a dictatorship, the people are free to own and bear arms in order to put down that government. That is a thing here in the United States. That's why you hear this issue about guns, 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 guns. And many people own guns. Some have even 300, 30 guns. I don't know why you have to have that. But anyway, so the question is, do we also in our home countries have that right of self-defense? La Republique has been maltreating and killing our people, and these are people that were just trying to help our people defend themselves and help those who have been wounded, widows and orphans. And in some business Americans who want to take some favors and have BR give them permission to drill oil in La Republique territory, got the Biden administration, that's what I think I understood, to get them put in jail as a favor for La République du Cameroon. We trust that this blunt talker will reverse it and free them. That's all I'll say there right now.
That was an amazing resume of that. Do we also have rights to own guns? And if we do, where does it begin? Where does it end?